You fall into cold water, not Arctic water, not a hole in the ice, just cold water. A lake in May, a harbour in September, the sea off a beach in the middle of summer, with children swimming 20 feet away. Ask almost anyone how that kills you, and you'll get the same answer. A slow freeze, your body temperature sliding down, hour after hour, until you go quiet and slip under. That is not what happens. The people who die in cold water are overwhelmingly dead long before their core temperature has moved at all. Most of them are dead inside the first minute, and the thing that kills them is not the cold. It's a single breath. So here's the question. How long could you actually survive in freezing water? And why is almost everything you believe about that number aimed at the wrong danger? Let's start with the water itself, because the first mistake happens before you're even in it. The response that kills people in cold water is called cold shock. And cold shock does not simply get worse and worse the colder the water gets. It rises steeply as water drops below about 25 degrees Celsius, and then it flattens out. Somewhere between 10 and 15 degrees, it is already at full strength. Colder water after that doesn't make it dramatically worse. It's already doing everything it can do. Now hold that next to a number. The average temperature of the water around the United Kingdom and Ireland is roughly 12 degrees Celsius. That's the middle of the danger band. And it is 12 degrees in August, on a bright afternoon with people on the sand. This is the part almost nobody understands. The water that triggers a full cold shock response does not look dangerous. It has no ice on it. It isn't in Norway. It's the reservoir you drove past this morning and the quarry the local kids swim in and the sea on the hottest day of the year. It doesn't have to be freezing to do this to you. It just has to be cold. Minute 1. Your skin hits the water and thousands of cold receptors fire at once. What happens next is not fear, and it is not panic. It's a reflex, generated below the level of conscious decision. You gasp. Professor Mike Tipton at the University of Portsmouth has spent decades measuring that gasp under laboratory conditions. It draws in 2 to 3 litres of air. Now put your head under the surface at that exact moment. 2 to 3 litres. That is far more than enough water to drown a person. One breath before you have formed a single thought about your situation, and you are already past the volume that kills. And the gasp is only the opening. What follows is uncontrollable hyperventilation. Your breathing rate climbs to several times normal, and here is the critical part. You cannot override it. Cold shock takes the control of your own breathing away from you. You cannot hold your breath. You cannot slow it down. You cannot decide to be calm. If a wave washes over your face in that window, you inhale it. Tipton's conclusion, after a career of this work, is blunt. The majority of deaths occurring in the first minutes of immersion are caused by cold shock. Not hypothermia, not exhaustion, drowning, driven by a reflex. And there is a second way this first minute can kill you, one that doesn't put any water in your lungs at all. Cold shock is a sympathetic response, heart rate up, blood pressure up, but if your face goes beneath the surface, a completely different reflex fires, the dive response, which is parasympathetic and slows the heart down. 2 opposing instructions arrive at the heart at the same instant. In the research literature, this is called autonomic conflict, and it can disrupt the electrical rhythm of the heart. For some people, particularly anyone carrying a cardiac condition they don't know about, the result isn't drowning at all. It's an arrhythmia. The heart simply stops, which is why a small number of cold water victims are recovered with dry lungs. They didn't drown, they didn't freeze, they died in the first 30 seconds of something else entirely. How much of the total this accounts for is genuinely unresolved? The mechanism is well established, the proportion isn't, and anyone who gives you a confident percentage is guessing. Say you get through the minute, say your head stayed clear, or you were wearing a life jacket, or you were simply lucky. You've survived stage 1. Now stage 2 begins, and it is the stage that catches the people who thought they were safe. It's called cold incapacitation. Cold water strips heat out of your arms and legs continuously. The superficial nerves cool, the muscles cool, and they stop working in a specific, predictable order. Grip goes first, fingers, then hands. Your stroke shortens. Your arms start rising out of the water on the recovery instead of slicing through it. Your body angle tilts from horizontal toward vertical, and you stop moving forward. And through all of this, your core temperature is still essentially normal. Your mind is completely clear. You are lucid and warm on the inside, and watching your own arms refuse to work. Gordon Giesbrecht at the University of Manitoba, a researcher who has put himself in ice water more than 30 times, ran a demonstration of exactly this. Wearing a snowmobile suit in ice water, he was completely incapacitated within 6 minutes after swimming a distance of 50 feet. 50 feet, fully clothed, 6 minutes. This is why being a strong swimmer protects you far less than you'd expect. Swimming is a skill executed by trained muscle, and the muscle is precisely what's failing. Your technique is intact. Your body won't perform it, and there's a darker edge to that. The better a swimmer you are, the more likely you are to look at the shore, decide it's reachable, and start swimming during the exact 60 seconds when you should be doing nothing at all. Which brings us to the single most useful thing in this entire video. When you fall into cold water, the correct first action is to do nothing. Lean back, get your head back, ears in the water, spread your arms and your legs. Let your legs sink if they want to, that's fine. And breathe, float. For 60 to 90 seconds. This is the Royal National Lifeboat Institution's Float to Live guidance running since 2014, and it is built directly on Tipton's laboratory data. And the reason it works is beautifully precise. Cold shock isn't driven by cold, it's driven by the rate of change of your skin temperature, which means that once your skin has cooled down to match the water, a process that takes about a minute, maybe 2, those receptors stop firing. The hyperventilation fades, your breathing comes back under your own control. Cold shock is not a state you're trapped in, it's an event. It has a beginning and it has an end. Float through the event, and you come out the other side with your breathing back and a decision to make. Swim into it and you drown with the shore in sight. One more thing while you're floating, keep your clothes on. Every film you've ever seen shows someone kicking off their boots and fighting out of a jacket. It's the wrong instinct. Clothing traps air, which adds buoyancy. Wet fabric still slows heat loss. And wrestling out of a coat in cold water spends energy and movement at the precise moment you have a finite supply of both. Boots do not drag you under. Undressing might. So, after all that, we finally arrive at hypothermia. And here's the thing about hypothermia. It's slow. Genuinely, surprisingly slow. In most cold water, it takes around 30 minutes before it's a serious factor at all, and consciousness is typically held for a good while beyond that. The popular shorthand for the whole sequence is the 1-10-1 rule, coined by Giesbrecht. 1 minute to get your breathing under control, 10 minutes of meaningful movement, 1 hour before you lose consciousness to hypothermia. It's a good memory aid, and it puts the emphasis in the right place, but treat it as a rough guide rather than a promise. Giesbrecht himself has written that in water close to freezing, incapacitation can arrive in as little as 2 minutes. The numbers get shorter as the water gets colder, and they vary enormously between people. The point stands regardless. Hypothermia is the third thing that tries to kill you, not the first. Most people never meet it. And then there's a fourth stage that almost nobody knows exists. In 1991, Golden, Hervey, and Tipton described a phenomenon they called circumrescue collapse. Deaths occurring just before, during, or immediately after a victim is pulled from the water. People who were conscious and talking, and then weren't. By Tipton's later figures, something in the region of 17% of immersion deaths happen in that window. 17% at the moment of rescue. Several mechanisms are proposed. The loss of the water's pressure on the body when you're lifted clear. The sudden drop in stress hormones once safety is visible and the body stands down. An after drop. The fact that your core temperature keeps falling after you're out, as cold blood from your limbs returns to your center. In an unconscious casualty, that continued fall can be several degrees. The exact cause is still debated, the protocol isn't. Which is why maritime rescue teams lift a cold water casualty horizontally wherever they can. A basket or a horizontal strop, rather than hauling someone vertically by the arms into a helicopter. And it's why the most instinctive act of kindness available is also the wrong one. Not a hot shower, not a hot bath, no rubbing the arms and legs, and no alcohol. Wet clothing off, insulate, warm sweet drinks if they're fully alert, and let the rewarming be gradual. The clock does not stop when the helicopter arrives. So, how long could you survive in freezing water? The honest answer is that the question contains a false assumption. There isn't one clock, there are 4 running in sequence, and they don't get progressively worse. The first one is the deadliest. 60 seconds of cold shock, where a reflex you cannot override tries to make you inhale. Then somewhere between 10 and 30 minutes of usable movement, ending not in exhaustion but in your hands quietly ceasing to obey you. Then hypothermia, slow, gradual, and far less likely to be the thing that gets you. And then the rescue itself, which is its own stage of danger. If you survive the first minute with your airway clear, your realistic survival window in genuinely cold water is measured in hours, not minutes. But most people never get the hours. They get the 60 seconds, and the 60 seconds is enough. 2 things to leave you with. The first is that this is trainable. Tipton's group has shown that the cold shock response can be cut by around half after as few as 5 or 6 short immersions in cold water, and it lasts. In one study, the reduction was still clearly present 7 months later, and the heart rate response was still blunted after 14 months. The reflex that kills more cold water victims than anything else can be halved by a handful of deliberately unpleasant afternoons. That's the whole cost. And the second thing is a woman named Anna Bogenholm, May 1999. Skiing with 2 colleagues in the mountains near Narvik in northern Norway, she fell and slid headfirst through the ice of a frozen stream. Her friends caught hold of her skis and couldn't pull her free. She was wedged upside down beneath 20 centimeters of ice. She found a pocket of air under the surface. She breathed from it for around 40 minutes. Then she stopped. By the time rescuers freed her, she had been under the ice for 80 minutes. Her heart had stopped. When she reached the University Hospital of North Norway in Tromsø, her core temperature was 13.7 degrees Celsius, one of the lowest ever recorded in a person who survived. The team, led by Mads Gilbert, put her onto a heart-lung machine and rewarmed her from the inside out. Her heart restarted. Recovery took more than a year, but she survived, and she went back to work as a doctor at the hospital that had saved her. And the reason she survived is the strangest inversion in all of this. The cold that took her down to 13.7 degrees is the same cold that slowed her brain's demand for oxygen enough that it could go without. The thing that nearly killed her is the only reason she lived, which is where the phrase comes from, the one that every doctor who works with cold water knows. Nobody is dead until they are warm and dead. The cold isn't waiting to freeze you, it's waiting for you to breathe in.